Hi, it's really nice to be here. Big thank you to Alex for putting this on, for Brewdog for having us. This first poem was written a few years ago in Toronto, and it's called Change Direction. At the end of the day, we changed direction, turned towards woods and lingering light. The water shivers for our touch, but we refuse to swim, for fear of never getting warm again. Your grandmother's photo is pinned to supporting oak beams, disappointing me. She doesn't look a bit like you. Healthy, tanned, younger there, younger than me, wearing a golden yellow sash beneath a turning maple tree. You're busy cracking eggs. I'm busy moving quietly in love through your childhood summers. My eyes sail over dog-eared books from lost rainy days, battered board games you and your brothers played. My fugitive fingers trace you there in the yearly biro marks upon the larchwood door. The black marble elephant with the trip chunked seems precious. I hold it. I'll hold on till morning comes, when you'll lead me back to pick up the road we had abandoned. My post-it notes and primary school teachers, so comes with the trade. This next poem is my attempt at a happy poem. Attempt. It's called Telephone Wire. As I lay my head on your shoulder, my ear on your chest, as if half submerged in warm water, I had an image of a black telephone wire between two wooden poles, the old-fashioned kind, amid turning stars under a summer sky. I imagined secretive black casing with a million silent bolts running inside, waves of electricity moving unseen in the muted night. I imagined a telephone line between you and me as we lay silent in our bed, your shoulder blade cradling my dozing head, my ear listening to every word your heartbeat said. This next poem was written in my parents' garden when my elderly neighbour had died and the new people moved in, and they were getting rid of all his stuff, and it was very surreal seeing them bag up all his belongings, and it was just a bit of an upsetting day. Turns out they're really nice, so I feel a little bit bad about writing this horrible poem about them. But, here we go. It's called Saturday. They're so smug, laughing at the efforts of a dead man, rejoicing in their own precision. They irritate each other now, her shrill voice demanding his direction, her shrill voice demanding over the newly desecrated garden. He barely acknowledges her now. He learnt long ago to treat her voice like a chronic case of tinnitus. But still, they had their moments. When they found the poorly laid patio, they remembered why they fell in love. Over torn cement and dated tiles, they cooed and tittered, a satisfaction nearly passing for joy. Deftly, they pulled up the trees the old man planted. After his wife, he tended to the garden. The tenderness was shredded around 8:30 this morning, stuffed into carrier bags. The strawberries were rotting. The berry bush was ripe with flies. Everything he'd sown in his life was dated or decayed. It took a whole Saturday to clear it all away. I wrote at the end of a terrible night out, and I thought the only thing I could get from this night out is to turn it into a poem. So it was my revenge upon the night. It's called The Room. I'll make sure I can turn the pages. It's the empty chair, the empty sound, the pallid skin, the shallow shadowed faces, its youth blanched and waning thin. Is the outlash hounded by the backlash, the spit a sight of blood? Is the effigies younger selves made of us? It's the nostalgia that clings, the stench of rotting memories, the warped floorboards, the last bell that rings. It's the drinks we buy and can't bear to touch. It's the talk that falls together like scissors. It's fast and stilled, the nauseating mewling sound of the adults talking now. It's the battering words that they can't feel, to every syllable is mangled and unreal. It's these sweat-kissed walls of sick maroon. It's the irritation under your skin, the grease on the table. It's every look, jabbing like a drawing pin. It's our voices singing out of tune. It's two sat down and one stood up. It's the windowsill shut. It's the forgotten round. We're glued together, but loosely bound. I'm sure all families have sayings and expressions and words that only make sense to your family, but it seems that mine have an unusual amount of those, and they seem to have come from my granddad. So this is a little tribute to him. It's called Handshake. You taught them, never leave the church before the priest or the stadium before the final whistle. Never let truth ruin a good story. Always be the first to buy your round. Never start a fight, finish it. Family first. You taught them, your boys, how to be men. And when the asbestos you used to strengthen the bare bows of ocean liners, building wood up into mighty ships, called you to call your life into account, you taught them to take death's hand with a firm shake, to look tragedy straight in the eye. You taught your boys how to live. You taught men how to die. I'm just going to do two more. One's a little tribute to my mum, who is much braver than I am. And when our cat, which is an absolute terror, brings in little presents from outside, she likes to let them free in the living room. And I'll cower in terror, and my mum will just swoop in like an absolute trooper and save the day. So this is a poem for her. It's called In Our Nature. It was a tiny thing, small enough to cup in one hand, beautiful lemon yellow sweeping its delicate wing. I watched him fluttering, while you, mother, held the scowling menace in a matron's grip. I watched him fly, then struggle, watched him exhausted, watched the agonies double, little head defeated upon the window pane. I didn't move, you moved, swapped cat for bird in thoughtlessly tender hands, your nature cast into flight out of the open window. And the last one is based on a bit of a strange Sunday I spent. I went to Salisbury and they had this exhibition of Victorian grief. So being the cheerful person I am, I thought I'd go check that out. And it turns out that the Victorians during times of mourning would collect all their tears, I don't know how, and they would put them into a jar. And when the tears would evaporate, that meant that their time of grief was over. And I got thinking about this idea.